I'm Joseph McClendon III, and it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to the very first volume, the very first episode of Further, Faster, Now, the videocast and podcast. And with your permission, I would be honored to be your coach, your guide, and maybe even your mentor for the next little while on this journey into your past and your present, with the express outcome of doing exactly what the title suggests, helping you go further, faster in your life, in whatever area you desire, whether it's your physical body, your health, your wellness, your well-being, your wealth, your money, your lifestyle, whatever it is. If that's what you're looking for, is to go further, faster. If you want what you want sooner rather than later, then you landed in the right place. I know that might sound bold and flamboyant, but hang in there, because I'm going to share with you exactly what I mean and exactly how we're going to do that. Now, at the risk of sounding arrogant, if I know you, hello again. And if I don't, I'll share with you a little bit about myself first, kind of what qualifies me to be talking to you this way and what we're going to do. And then I'm going to share with you what we're going to do, how we're going to roll with this to get the results that I'm talking about. And like I said before, if you want what you want sooner rather than later, that's what this is all about, going further, faster. Because here's the deal. Every single one of us, every human being on the planet wants more. More stuff, more, happier, to like I said, a better body, to have more energy, whatever it is. We all want more stuff. That's in our DNA. That's the way we're programmed to be. But the challenge is, most of us, what you've done is you've procrastinated, you've hesitated, you allowed your fears and inhibitions to stop you, slow you down, and hinder your life going forward. And you know what? I've done the same thing. And as a matter of fact, I don't use myself as some shining example of the way things should be, but I do use myself as an example of what is possible. Because at one point in my life, I was homeless at the bottom of my life. I lived in a cardboard box behind an old drive-in in Lancaster, California. And I was there. I became homeless not because I had a bad upbringing or bad childhood. I had a great childhood, great parents, and learned a lot of great lessons and everything. But I wound up there because when I was about 17 and a half years old, 3 grown men tried to take my life because of the color of my skin. And it left me feeling worthless, hopeless, and even suicidal. And what changed my life was somebody that I didn't even know, a kind person, cared for me and gave me a book to read. The book was called Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read the book, you got to grab it and read it. And I always share this with people. I not only read the book, but I did the exercises in the book. And that's going to be unbelievably important to you as we're going forward. Because a lot of people have read the book. Maybe you've read it before, but most people, I was desperate. I had to. I read the book and I did what the book said. And I got results. My life changed very, very quickly. And so the reason I share that with you is because when I went back to the gentleman that gave me the book, remember, this was somebody that I didn't even know. And I said, how do I repay you? What do I do for you? Because that's the way I was raised, because you've helped me, you've changed my life. And what he said to me changed my life even more. What he said was, how you repay me, Joseph, is you do the same thing in whatever way you can for as many people as you possibly can. The same thing that I've done for you. For as many people as you possibly can for the rest of your life. Now, I was I was like 18 years old, and I didn't really take it serious then, but as time went on, I did, and that's why I'm here right now. That's why I'm sharing with you this right now, because this is my opportunity to pay it forward and do what he said. So here's what I'd like you to do. And by the way, it's a solution to all of this stuff, to anything that has stopped you, slowed you down, or maybe you're doing great already and you just want to go faster. The solution is to learn how to influence yourself, your mind, your emotions, your body, so that you automatically default to the behaviors that you want. If you got bad behaviors, that's because you default to those bad behaviors. So the solution is to find a way. And by the way, that was the beginnings of it. The genesis of it was Think and Grow Rich, and I grew it from there. And so find out how to do that, apply it so that you change, because nothing changes unless you change. And so here's what I want you to do. If you're, and by the way, I'm going to try and keep this to 22 minutes each time, because that's what they told me is the ideal podcast or video cast. But as you can tell, I might get a little long-winded. So if I do, please forgive me. That's my kind of underhanded apology for going a little bit long. But if you're driving, that's great. Just stop. Don't stop, but take a deep breath and put a smile on your face. And by the way, everything that I talk about, everything that I do has a reason and a purpose. I'll share with you that here in just a moment. And so take a deep breath, put a smile on your face, and just relax. If you're driving, pay attention, but relax. And if you're not driving, if you're listening to me somewhere where you can do this, grab a pad and paper or something that you can take some notes on, because I'm always going to give you something to do so that you get a result. So here's how we're going to roll. Now, by the way, like I said, my background, I'll share with you a little bit about myself. My background, and again, I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, but again, I want you to understand who you're talking to and what gives me the right to be sharing with you this way, and why you want to pay attention, and why I paid attention to somebody else that was in my position before. So, my background, by profession, I'm a psychologist. More specifically, I'm a neuropsychologist. Big words, for all that means is that I help people get over fears, phobias, emotional challenges to help them go further, faster in their lives, things that have hindered their lives. I had a regular practice in Los Angeles for many years where I help people do that. And I moved from that into my trade. What I do now is what's called an ultimate performance specialist. And all that means is through seminars, workshop, live interventions, and one-on-one coaching, I help people get the very best out of themselves and do that again, go further, faster. I have the privilege of working with several Academy Award-winning movie stars and Grammy winners and major sports figures and even some royalty and politicians, if you will. And I share that with you not to brag or to boast, but to let you know who you're rolling with here. And the whole outcome is always, again, to help people influence themselves so that they default to the exact behavior that they want or that they desire to get the results that they want. Now, having said that, the way we're going to roll with this whole thing is going to be, I don't believe, I have several fundamental beliefs, but one of them is with regard to the way I teach and what I do is number one, I won't teach theory. And what that means is I may not know you personally, and I may not know exactly what you do personally, but I do know people. In other words, my background, as I said, is psychology. So I'm not going to teach you or tell you to do something that I haven't done myself and or that I haven't taught somebody else to do and gotten results. The second thing is I don't believe in just advice. I don't believe in just quotes. As a matter of fact, I always say a quote without the methodology or the system to get whatever that quote suggests is just great advice. And I say that I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite because I wrote a book of quotes and I quote all the time. But what I always do and always try to do is make sure that I give you the mechanics or a system or a process to get that result. And that's how we're going to roll with this. That's what Further Faster is all about. So in general, yes, I'm going to do on this podcast and videocast, I'm going to interview people from time to time. I'm going to interact with other people and bring other people in and that kind of thing. And for the most part, I'm going to do what so many of you have requested of me, and that is I'm going to give you something to do so that you get a result. Matter of fact, my old saying is, those of us that dare to dream while the rest of the world is having a nightmare, we're not only going to inherit and create the abundance that we desire, but we're also going to be the examples for other people to live up to, because here's what in the bottom line, it's not what you know. You've heard this before. It's not what you know that gets results. It's what you do that gets results. So again, back on what I said about even Think and Grow Rich, I did the exercises. And so I'm always going to give you something to do. And I always say to people, now I'm a little bit unorthodox, if you will. I like to have fun. If you've been with me at a seminar or workshop, I'm in front of literally anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000 people every month, and sometimes even more, all around the world. And so if you've been around me, you know I like to have fun, that kind of thing. So I'm going to try and make it fun, but I'm also going to make it so freaking simple that it's ridiculous. And everything that I do has a reason and a purpose, so you'll get a result. So every time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some fundamentals. That's what this particular podcast, videocast is going to be about, is I'm going to give you some fundamentals of exactly how we function as human beings in a very, very simple way. And then how to use, and that the whole rest of it is how to use that information to get the results that you want. Whether you want to write a book, or whether you want to, build, a business, whether you want to change your body, have health, have energy, and all those things, whatever it is, it all comes down to exactly how you function. So I'm going to introduce you to a couple words first, and just terminology that I'm going to use over and over again that you may not have heard before. And I know you haven't heard some of them because I made them up, and I'll explain to you. And by the way, I didn't share with you this. I taught at the University of Southern California for 7 years, several years ago. And so, as I said, I don't teach theory, and everything that I talk about sometimes, might sound a little cosmic, but everything that I talk about can be proven, and I back it up with facts. I'm a facts kind of guy. Whether I've done it myself, or whether I've witnessed it, or whether I've shared with somebody else who got results. So here's some terminology, and if you can write, I want you to write this down. The first word is pro-sequences, and that's what this is all about. Pro-sequences. Pro-sequences are obviously the opposite of consequences. Consequences are the bad things or unfortunate things that happen as a result of poor judgment and poor activity and poor choices that we make and or have made. And so, and by the way, I will often use things like weight loss and making money and kind of low-hanging fruit like that. But whatever I talk about is synonymous with every and anything that you want to do. And so, if you've made some bad choices like eating the wrong foods or doing drugs and too much alcohol or whatever it is, those are bad choices, and they have consequences. Consequences in your energy, consequences in your weight, consequences in how you look. If you made choices and didn't save money when you were younger or did stupid things with your money and wasted money, then the consequences are you probably don't have a lot of money now. If you didn't study in school, or you didn't go do and take advantage of some things when you were younger, then the consequences are some of the things that you have now. However, having said that, our lives are abundant with pro-sequences. Pro-sequences are the resourceful, fortunate, great things and good things that happen as a result of choices and actions and activities that we've taken in the past. Whether they are the things that you meant to and you chose to do, and or inadvertently. Sometimes you do things you don't even know you're doing them. You don't even know that you made this choice, but you did it and you're getting a result. So our whole outcome in this whole thing is to create more and more and more pro-sequences, to have that foresight. I always say foresight is 20/20. People say hindsight is 20/20 because you can always look back and go, gosh, I wish I would have done that. Well, you know what? You can go, I wish I would do this, and program yourself to do that. So pro-sequences is the first thing. The second one is, I should have said this one first, and that is further, faster. And that is whatever you want, if you want it sooner rather than later, then this is the place. Further, faster is the science, if you will, of creating the pro-sequences and acting on those pro-sequences with the express outcome of affecting your future and getting you there faster. How we behave, what we do, and to do it automatically so you don't have to keep reminding yourself and step up to it and do it. The next is something I call contrived human nature. Big words, and all that means is this. Every single one of us, every single living thing, whether it's a plant or an animal, anything with a nervous system has instinct. And it does things without thinking about it and doesn't even know that it's doing it. Birds fly south for the winter. Reptiles shed their skin. The gazelle, the baby gazelle that's born on the Serengeti plains, if that's where they live, from the time it comes out of its mother, it has to learn to stand, it has to stand up, and it has to know how to hide itself. Otherwise, the other animals are going to come eat it. Where does it learn it? It knows it because it's instinctive inside of it. Well, guess what? Human beings have those things as well. As a matter of fact, we have them. An example I always use is human beings. We know how to swim from the time that we're born. If the baby knows how to swim. By the way, most animals know how to do that. They instinctively. So having said that, these are things that are instinctive in us. But guess what? You have contrived behavior as well. Things like smoking cigarettes or eating the wrong foods or any of the things that, like I said, cause consequences and pro-sequences. And those things are learned. So, as I said, our outcome in this is to have you build a default within your nervous system, within your body, so that your human nature is that you behave the way that you know you should, would, could to get the results that you want. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. And again, very, very simply, very, very, very easily, if you will. I shouldn't say easy because sometimes it's not always easy in that fashion, but it's definitely going to be simple. So that contrived human nature is the contrived meaning we're going to make it up. We're going to create and we're going to instill inside our nervous systems the exact things, ways that we want to think, feel so that we do. So those are the three words I want you to know. Again, pro-sequences, further, faster, and contrived human nature. And everything that we do every time that we go forward is going to be that. Now, I should share with you this as well. And you can probably tell, I get a little excited about stuff. I'm reserved right now. I do a lot of the presentations that I do are on stage and on live. And if you're watching me on video, you can probably see some of that. But I'm going to try and keep it at a minimum because this is a podcast. Now, I want to back up for a second. My fascination with all of this, quite honestly, came from a selfish place, because when I grew up, I wasn't a great student. I'll tell you that right now. And I had a lot of procrastination in my life and a lot of fears and a lot of things going on in my life. But I was always fascinated. As far back as I can remember, my mom would always ask me, "Why do you do that? Why didn't you clean your room? Or why didn't you just do what I asked you to do?" And I'd always think to myself, I don't know. And I was fascinated, and still am, with why human beings, when they have a choice to do the right thing or do the thing that's going to help them or change their lives, the things that they even want, why do they default and why do they do things that don't serve them? And so that's what I studied, and I looked at, and I would see people that, my whole life, that were major successful in whatever it was, at whatever stage, making money, or successful in sports, or successful with other people, whatever it is. And I'd see those people, and oftentimes they were people who started with less than I had, people who had hardships in their lives. And them, the success stories are all over the place. And oftentimes those are the people that step up and do something different and create more. But not always, because there's also people that are born with a silver spoon in their mouth. I see it all the time, that have every advantage you could possibly ask for in their lives, but they wind up, getting addicted to drugs or doing stupid things, and wind up, hurting other people and that kind of thing. And I always wondered what the heck was the difference, what it is. And so I made a study of that. That has been my lifelong quest, is to understand that. And I have a good grip on it, a great grip on it, and that's what I'm going to share with you, because wherever you are in your life, whatever it is, you have at least these three things in common with everybody else. Number one, you have the same type of brain. The same type of brain. In other words, your brain functions just like everybody else's. Yes, there are differences, but it's the same kind of thing. The second thing is you have the same type of nervous system. You got 5 senses, and your nervous system basically comes with this. Whatever you see, whatever you feel, meaning touch, or feel, whatever you hear, whatever you taste, and whatever you smell. You have the same type of nervous system. And I studied, and this is what I practiced, the neurosciences. And all that is the study of the language of the nervous system and how to use that information to get the very best of ourselves. The third thing is that you have the same type of body as anybody else. And yes, you may have some advantages and disadvantages and different genes and everybody than other people, virtually everybody else, because you're unique, but you get the same kind of body. And with those 3 things in place, then if we learn how to affect those 3 things, it's a loop. If you affect the brain, then it's going to affect the nervous system, and that's going to affect the body. And if you affect the body, it's going to change all the way through. And so that's what we're going to be doing. Having said that, I'm going to introduce you to, because I'm looking at my clock and I'm running up on 22 minutes now, so I'm going to kind of wrap this up, and I'm going to give you something to do. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a cliffhanger, because I want you to come back, episode number 2. And again, I'm going to pepper these episodes with, I'm going to interact with people from time to time, bring some of my friends and some of the people that have influenced me into my life, into your life as well. But I want to give you the fundamentals of how you function as a human being. And as a matter of fact, at the top of your page, I want you to write this: how I function. As silly as that sounds, but I want you to get this, and I want you to understand how simple this is. And when you get this, that's all we're ever going to do is to affect these areas that I'm talking about in sequence, so that you get the results that you want. And here's what it is. I want you to write this down. As I think, so I feel. As I feel, so I do. And as I do, so I have. As I think, so I feel. As I feel, so I do. And as I do, so I have. And here's what that means. Very, very simply, if you take nothing away from this at all, just get this fundamental so that you go through life, because every single one of these areas of your life, especially the sequence that I'm going to give you, you can make a choice to do something a little bit different so that you get it. Your mind, your brain is the command center for everything else. And so how you think in any given moment, consciously and unconsciously, will always affect that next thing on the list, and that is how you feel. And again, I'm going to give you examples on the next episode. But whatever you think in any given moment is going to change how you feel. And whatever you feel in any given moment is going to determine what you do and what you don't do. And then whatever you do is going to get the results that you want. Here's an example. Well, I'm not going to give you the example. I'm going to wait for that example to come back. I'm going to wait for you to come back on the next one. But I want you to get this, that in any given moment, and just so you know, the thought process, where we're going to pick up next time, the thought process is nothing more than whatever you're picturing, the images that you're making in your mind, and the words that you're saying to yourself. And remember, it's unconscious and conscious. You may not even know you're doing this. Matter of fact, I would say probably a good 70% of the time, you don't even know you're thinking these things. And so those things, which are done over and over again, determine how you're going to feel in any given moment. Those visions and those words, any given moment, which is going to determine what you do, and it's going to determine what you get. It is that simple. So again, my outcome in this very first episode is just to give you the fundamentals. Again, that's how we're going to roll. Every single time that we meet, every single time, I'm going to play off of the last one, and I'm going to give you something to do. And I'm going to give you something to do now so that when you show up next time, it's going to be really, really simple. Really, really simple. And again, if you can, please get a journal or something that you can write down, because as I said, my outcome, I said this at the very beginning, my outcome is to journey in, to take a look at your past, which is, affects your life, and what you're doing now, so that we can shift those things to get the results that you want. And so what I'm going to ask you to do, here's your assignment, for lack of a better term. That's my dog going off, and he says it's time. The outcome is to give you something to do so that you start to get a result. So here's your assignment, if you will. All I want you to do is I want you to write 5 things that you want to change, and 5 things that you love about yourself. That's it. 5 things that you want to change, and 5 things that you want to love about yourself. That's it. And again, I'm always going to show up. I'm always going to give you something to do with what I told you to do. So remember this. I'm out of here. We're exactly 22 minutes right now. And again, some of these might be a little bit longer. So remember this. Remember this saying, that life is exactly what you dare to make it, and fortune favors the bold. So the trick to life is, as you're doing right now, is to boldly step up and do something different. Boldly step up and dare to make your life magnificent. I'm Joseph McClendon III. I've been the best host ever, and this is Further Faster, and I look forward to seeing you at the top.